smarter, faster way to cash out on your home's value without moving. That's Truehold.com.
This is the Verizon Extra Innings Show. Verizon, the most reliable 5G in St. Louis.
The Cardinals are down to their last strike. The pitch to Wynn. He swings and misses a curveball, and the Brewers win 3 out of 4. With 2 singles to start the inning, McGill struck out Walker, Scott, and Wynn to end the game, picking up the save. The final, Milwaukee 3, the Cardinals 2.
Welcome into the Extra Innings Show. It's presented by Gray Bar. Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. I'm Joe Pott. Cards fall today 3-2, as you heard right there. It was a really promising start to the 9th inning. Nolan Arenado with an absolute monster at bat. He sees 12 pitches in total. He fouls 8 away before singling into center field against Brewers closer Trevor McGill. He's on to start the inning. Nolan Gorman then lays down a bunt, a beauty of a bunt down the third base line. Those two on to start the inning, and then the Cardinals couldn't do anything. Walker called out on strikes, Scott out swinging, and Wynn out swinging, and McGill locks things up right there. So a tough way to finish, but the Cards drop a 1-run game here, and more importantly, they lose that series to the Brewers 3-2. I said it yesterday. I thought going in, you had to at least split with the Brewers to feel good with this real busy stretch. But that's not the way they come out of it. Joe Pott with you here on the Extra Innings Show. Big happy Father's Day to all the folks out there. Hopefully you've had a good Father's Day. Big happy Father's Day to my father-in-law, Ron Stenson. I know he's watching right now on our stream, so I appreciate that, and I appreciate all he does for us. I know Cardinal baseball is a big part of a lot of families, fathers, sons, daughters, and it's something that a lot of folks share, and we're glad you're joining us here on the Extra Innings Show. If you want to get in, you can do that by calling 314-436-7900. You can also hit us up on any of the socials. Our stream is there. It is live on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, and that's the best way to get in touch. You drop a comment right there. I'll see it. Kyle on the other side of the board over there will see it. And we'll be able to put that on, and we'll talk about that. I don't know that there's anything that stands out terribly about this one. They do go 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position, but you saw the Brewers did about the same. They were 1 of 11, and it's just a case of the Brewers getting a couple, well, in this case, a run more than the Redbirds did. You got a good start from Miles Mikolas, much better than he was on Tuesday against Toronto. And just to reiterate, he's been really good this year. Outside of the Boston start, that Toronto start, so a couple of starts. I think if you look at the body of work, he has been far better this year and probably as good of a Miles Mikolas as we've seen since his first year here in 2018. So you get what you need from Miles Mikolas this afternoon. Your bullpen gives up 1 run over the final 3 innings. That shouldn't be enough to do you in. You look at yesterday's offensive output, they go 8 runs on 10 hits. Today, it's 9 hits, but they can only manage 2 runs in that time. They just weren't getting the timely hit today. I think that's the kind of the biggest thing there, and that's nothing new. That's something we've talked a lot about in 2023 and 2024, less so here in 2025, but it's still, when it creeps up, it seems like it creeps up in those situations, and that's what leads you to a 1-run loss. If you heard our network postgame show and you heard Miles Mikolas talking about this team, Rick Horton says, give him a finish, right? That's what he says all the time is you want to give him a finish. And the Cards have done that to some extent. Even looking back at Friday night, they get a run in the 9th inning. They end up losing by a run. Here they get the first 2 runners on in the 9th inning. They end up losing by a run. So what Miles Mikolas was saying is that eventually those are going to go the other way because this team is battle-tested, because this team has been through it, which is fine, and it's likely true that you're going to start seeing some payoff. But I think for fans, you want to start seeing some payoff. And as good as maybe this team is battle-tested, you want to see some of the results from that. You're always wanting to see, any coach is going to talk about the process and how you go about things. And I think that by now we've established that this team has a good process, plays a good brand of baseball, and maybe a better brand of baseball than we've seen over the last couple of years. But the next step is there has to be results. There has to be over the hump of just, hey, we played really hard. We scored some runs. We got really close, but we just fell a little short. I think eventually the payoff has to be there at some point, and that's kind of now what that next step is more often than not the payoff being there, not just the effort and the finish or the close games. And that's, I think, what fans are waiting for at this point in time. Again, you can join us here, 314-436-7900, and we can talk about this one. We can talk about, this important stretch that the Cardinals are in with this Brewers series starting this long kind of stretch of games that includes the Reds. It includes 2 series against the Cubs. You've got a series that you definitely, I think you have to win 2 out of 3. And really, I think you go in there expecting that you can sweep the White Sox in this series. Is it Guaranteed Rate Field? I don't remember what it is. Guaranteed Rate Field is what it is right now. But the White Sox come in 25 games under 500. They're 23-48. They're 22 games out of first in the American League Central Division. You have to go in there with the mindset of we sweep this series, knowing that you're good to come out of there 2 out of 3, but you can't do any worse than 2 out of 3 going to Chicago at this point. The Cubs are playing the Brewers over the next 3 days, or it either starts Monday or Tuesday. I'm not sure when that series starts, but they will have a series starting there coming up. So they're going to be kind of beating up on one another. They are also starting that series on Tuesday. So they're at Wrigley to play that 3-game series with the Brewers. And then, as I said, the Cubs will be in this next homestand. It's the Reds starting on Friday. It's the Cubs after that. So really big stretch right here. And as we mentioned, fewer off days. So a lot of off days. You had a lot of Thursday off days. You're able to manage that workload. I think maybe we see a little bit of that. You see Lars Nootbaar slumping, probably a little bit of fatigue from him. But other than a pinch run appearance in the 9th inning today, he had yesterday off, today off. Tomorrow will be an off day. You hope that can reset Lars Nootbaar, bring him back, not necessarily in that leadoff spot probably, but bring him back into the lineup. You had a few days without Brendan Donovan, which I think certainly hurt this offense. And he comes back today with 2 hits and 4 at-bats, a couple of singles, a run scored. I think you can kind of reset things a little bit tomorrow. I don't think your bullpen wasn't terribly taxed the last couple of days. You used guys for an inning at a time yesterday, maybe used a reliever more than you expected to, but Leahy threw 22, Romero 21. Now Maton threw a lot. He threw 33. But again, he didn't pitch today. He's off tomorrow. Everybody is getting that off day tomorrow, so you feel like your bullpen's going to be in pretty good shape. So maybe this is that reset here as the Cardinals get set for another little bit of a longer stretch of baseball games. So feel free to get in if you'd like, 314-436-7900. I don't have a comment yet, but if you want to, jump on the socials. We are right there. We are live streaming right there. You can see me and you can talk to us. Just drop us a comment right there. We'll take a break here. We'll come back and see if we've got any comments to chat about here. It's the Cardinals fall to the Brewers this afternoon, 3-2, the final score in Milwaukee. I'm Joe Pott. We're coming back on your home of the Cardinals, 104.1 FM, KMOX.
There's a big red barn where you say green. Norm's Barn and Mall. On discount windows.
Now, back to the Verizon Extra Innings Show.
There's a high fly ball tagged to deep left field. That ball is out of here for Herrera. And it's a 1-run game. Bill Maton is warming in the Cardinal bullpen now, as Herrera jumped all over that pitch, hitting his 8th home run of the year.
John Rooney, of course, calling that one for us as the Cardinal catcher hits the home run in the 8th inning to cut that down to a 1-run lead for the Brewers. That's how they win it, 3-2. It is the Extra Innings Show. It's presented by Gray Bar, your electrical and datacom provider. I think I said that right. Your electrical and your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. I almost got it right, but that is the Extra Innings Show here today. Again, last few minutes here. If you want to get on, jump on the stream. We're on all of our socials, and you can drop a comment right there, and I'll see it, and we can talk about it. Or if you want to get a quick phone call in at 314-436-7900, we can do that as well. I'll remind you, What's on Deck is brought to you by Chesterfield Fence and Deck. The sign you have the very best, chesterfieldfence.com, and it's an off day tomorrow. And then the Cardinals and White Sox go at it beginning Tuesday night. We have discovered it is Rate Field. They have shortened the name of the stadium. I don't know if that means that is the if they've shortened the name of the business that is attached to it, which used to be Guaranteed Rate. It's a financial company, so maybe it's just Rate now. So Rate Field on Tuesday night. Right-hander Shane Smith, 3-3 with a 2.37 ERA. He'll go up against the left-hander Matthew Liberatore, and Liberatore is 3-6 with a 4.17 ERA. I said this at the end of the network, but feels like Matthew Liberatore is due for a much better start. He had the start 2 starts ago was when he left due to fatigue. He had not a great start against Toronto his last time out, so you'd like to see him get back into form. He was in such good form there in May, as really as a lot of the Cardinals were. They were just in a much better form in the month of May, and the results bear that out. And they have really struggled in the month of June. That's, of course, when this long losing streak started. They snapped it yesterday, but they fall again here today, 3-2. Got a couple of comments, or have a comment here. Sam Foreman is up on our stream. Why didn't they suicide squeeze with Scott in the top of the 9th inning? That is an interesting question. Kyle Sixton and I were talking about when Jordan Walker came up and it was 2 on and nobody out. I said, would they dare to bunt with Walker? And then, of course, John and Rick kind of talked about that a little bit and said, no, that's probably not the case. But Victor Scott would have been a good option to do that with, because of then, of course, you have the distinct chance that he beats it out as well. And you're talking about being in a really good situation. So good question right there, just to do something. And obviously we saw Gorman lay down a perfect bunt. I would expect that Victor Scott would have been able to at least take a couple of cracks at it. So that's a good thought, Sam, as far as what the Cardinals were doing there in the 9th. Plus, you've got a guy that's tough in Priester, despite only having 2 pitches. Something else we were kind of discussing here in the studio is that there was only the 2 pitches that not Priester, I meant McGill, their closer, who was throwing that knuckle curve and a 4-seam fastball. That is what he was throwing. I mean, he literally was back and forth in that at bat to Nolan Arenado, those 2 pitches, and Nolan Arenado did such a good job fighting off the 100, 101 that he was that he just had a monster at bat. It was just really good at bat, and he hadn't had a great day at the plate. Nolan Arenado, he had grounded out a couple of times, struck out his last time up before that when he was facing Jared Koenig. So to come back and have that at bat, really good. Daniel Harder, real quick before we go, we need to beat the teams that we should beat. And my question is, do you think we'll see J.J. Weatherholt this year? He's talking about other teams that have drafted players ahead of him that they've brought him up. So good question. I don't think they're ready to see J.J. Weatherholt just yet. And quite honestly, I don't know where J.J. Weatherholt fits in this big league lineup right now. You're still talking about trying to find some spots for some other guys. But you're right. They need to beat those teams like the White Sox coming up on Tuesday. Big thanks to John and Rick in Milwaukee. Thanks to Kyle Sixta. I'm Joe Pott. Keep it here on your home of the Cardinals, KMOX.
This is Tom Ackerman. Like an MVP candidate, Chesterfield Fence and Deck, one of St. Louis's top names in home improvement, with a commitment to put